Hi, this is Shannon. This is Cycle 1, Week 12. I'm excited to share with you these tutor plans. You can also do these at home to practice the memory work with your kids. These ideas are with 4 through 6-year-olds in mind because I tutor the Obesitarians, but you can definitely use most, if not all of these for older kids. You can also adjust some things. So I hope these are helpful. If you are new to my channel, I am a homeschooling mom of 3 little ones, 5, 3, and 1. And we are part of Classical Conversations and love it. And I get the privilege of tutoring the Obesitarians, so the little ones, the 4 through 6-year-old kids. So again, these ideas will be with them in mind, but you can definitely adjust if you have older kids. Make sure you stick around to the end of this video where I will show you some activities I've made that you can do at home with your kids to help practice the memory work this week. They're all free. We just really like playing games at my house, and so I like making these games and activities, and I love sharing them. So make sure you stick around. I will explain how to get them at the end of this video. We are going to start today with English. If you watched my other videos, you know I like to start with English. I have written the prepositions that we're going to do this week in this preschool lined paper notebook I've shown before. I get these for each of the kids and I decorate them. So this is not an actual kid's name. I just used it as an example, but made a biology cover for it with their name. And so I have been writing the prepositions for each week so far this semester. And now we're on week 12. So this is the last week that we do these prepositions. And so these are the last 3 prepositions. So what I did is I left the first one blank. That's with. I'm going to encourage the kids in my group to try to write with. And then I have within for them to trace. So I just wrote in little dots, and then without. So you can adjust this to the level of the kids in your group. That's one of the reasons I really like doing this. I like them to have some writing practice. If you have a little bit older kids, you could have them write most of it or some of it. If you have a little bit younger kids, you could have them trace more. So you can really adjust it. You could adjust it to the level of each particular kid in your class. So you might have some older kids that you leave more blank and some younger kids that you write more for them to trace. So we are doing, again, with, within, and without this week. So I'll give them a chance to write with and then trace within. And then we will get up after they've done that and we will go over the hand motions for each one and go over the whole entire preposition song. Our preposition motions this week are, we start with, so we put our fists together like this. So with, within can be kind of confusing, but what you do is you start with, and then you're gonna put your hands out like that. So basically you're just turning your hands, so instead of your palms facing each other, it's the back of your hands touching each other and then pushing them forward. So with, within, and then we bring it back to the with and go like that for without. So with, within, and without. All right, so now I'm going to do the whole preposition song. So I'm going to start at week 2 through week 12. I have a slowed down version of this too that I'll link below in the description that you can see if that's more helpful. But we start like this. But by that, 2 to 2, but by that, 2 to 2, but by that, 2 to 2, but by that, 2 to 2. About, above, across, after, against, along, amid, among, around, at, atop, before, behind, below, beneath, beside, between, beyond, but by, concerning, down, during, except, for, from, in, inside, into, like, near, of, off, on, onto, out, outside, over, past, regarding, since, through, throughout, to, toward, under, underneath, until, up, upon, with, within, and without. So I hope that's helpful. That's the whole song. And again, check out my slowed down version if you would like to see it a little bit more slowly. After we go through the whole entire song, I like to play a game with them where I say, okay, each person gets a turn to choose one of the prepositions we learned today or one of the ones we've learned the past couple weeks. And you get to show the class that hand motion without actually saying the preposition, and everybody else has to guess what it is. So for example, somebody could do, oh, that's from today, that's with. Or somebody could do one from the very beginning, like, oh, about. It's fun and everybody gets a turn. It's a good way to review the prepositions we've already done. So we do that, and then also at the end, I give them a sticker to put on the front of their books, and by the end of the year, they will have 24 stickers for 24 weeks or maybe more on their books, and then I give them to take home at the end of the year. I collect them back after each week so I can prep them for the next week, but I will give them to them at the end of the year. So that is English this week. For timeline, I have these timeline cards. I get these from the Classical Conversations bookstore. I'll link below. I also put the first letter of each timeline event on each card just because I tutor the younger kids and some of them can't read yet. And so it just helps them identify the card that we're talking about. I get these letters from the dollar store. I've always seen them there every time I've been there. The Dollar Tree, I think it's called technically. So they're pretty easy to find. So for this week, I'm going to have these hidden around the room before the kids come into class. I want to do that before we even start things. And so when we get to timeline, I'll say, okay, go around and find one card. And then once you find a card, come back and sit in your seat. And so I make sure that everybody gets a chance to find a card. I usually don't have more than 7 kids. If you had more than 7, maybe you can team up a few or something. So everybody gets a chance to find one and bring one back. If you have less, you could have some people try to find 2 cards. So after they have found all the cards and they're all sitting down, I will gather up the cards and keep them with me. And then I'm going to have us all go out into the hall. The location where we meet, we have a little classroom where my group meets in, and then we have this big hallway space. So I like to jump between classroom and hallway just to keep things exciting. So we're going to go out to the hallway for this part, and I will have already set up, or I will set up real quick, some chairs in a circle. So I'm going to set them up in a circle so the backs of the chairs are facing the inside of the circle. And I'm going to set up one less chair than the number of kids I have. So if I have 7 kids in my group, I'm going to set up 6 chairs. We're going to play musical timeline chairs. And so I'll tell the kids to all stand around the chairs, and we will walk as we sing this week's part of the timeline song. I'm going to emphasize to them, walk. We're not going to run, we're going to walk. So we will start out singing, and I usually like to just sing it and kind of review it before to make sure I know it well enough to sing it. You could also just record this week's part of the timeline song and play, a recording of that. I like to sing it because I can control the volume a little bit more, and it's not that big of a deal to learn this week's part. So I will tell the kids as I start singing, walk around the chairs, and I'll probably choose a kid to kind of start leading the rest of the group. And so the song for this week goes like this, and then when I stop, they're all going to try to sit in a chair. So here we go. Genghis Khan rules the Mongols, England's Magna Carta, Ottoman Empire, Marco Polo's journey to China, the 100 Years' War, and Black Death, the Renaissance, China's Ming Dynasty. So I'll stop. I'll say, okay, sit down in the chair that's closest to you without shoving anybody else. Do it gently. So they'll all find a chair to sit in except one person. Now that one person, I will give them a special job of putting the first timeline card on the wall. So like I said in my previous videos, I like putting 7 pieces of painter's tape up on the wall in our little classroom where we meet in. So then they'll put this on the wall, and I'll say, okay, so you're gonna stand out, but don't worry, somebody's gonna join you really soon, and we'll repeat it, but I'll take a chair away, so there's one less chair. And then I'll sing it again or play it again. Let them walk around, same thing. When the song stops, they all sit in the chair closest to them. One person obviously won't get a chair, So they will get the next card to hang up on the wall, England's Magna Carta, and we will keep going through it until all the cards are on the wall and there's only one person left. So you can adjust that depending on how many kids you have. Obviously there's 7 cards, so you might want some kids to hang up 2 cards, or some kids to team up to hang up a card. So you can make it work for any number. That's what we're going to do for timeline. And then after we get to that point, all the cards are up on the wall. I will have the kids go stand in front of the cards and we will go over the timeline motions together. So this week we've got Genghis. So we're going to make our G. So Genghis, go like that. Genghis Khan rules. So we're going to go like that. The Mongols, like soldiers. So Genghis Khan rules the Mongols. And then England's Magna Carta, we'll shake our hand. England's Magna Carta. So we make like a C, like that. So England's Magna Carta. Ottoman Empire. So I'm making an O and going around my face. Marco Polo's journey to China. So Marco Polo and then journey to China. We like the 3 buttons on the Chinese suit. So that's Marco Polo's journey to China. 100 years war. This is our motion for war. And Black Death. There's different ways to do that, but we're going to do Black Death like that. The Renaissance. So I'm going to go under my hand like that. And again, the buttons on the China suit. China's Ming Dynasty. So those are our motions for timeline this week. For geography this week, I have my Trivium table map. And I prep these for each kid each week. So our director got one of these for each kid in our class. If you don't have those, you could easily just laminate or print the map out that's on CC Connected and the Sandbox e-zine and put it in like a page protector or something. Lots of options. But I like to prepare these beforehand. Since I have younger kids, they can quickly see where the places are. We have Mecca, which is in blue, Medina in pink. We have Baghdad in orange, Damascus, and then Syria in green. And we've got Tours in purple. So what I'm going to do is hand these maps out to the kids and I'm going to say, I'm going to tell you a little story. And you can get a little eraser. I like to do that. You've seen in my other videos if you watch them. A lot of times I give them a little eraser and let them point to the different cities. I don't have one with me right now because I'm on the hunt for a Christmas little eraser. But you could also just have them use their fingers. But little erasers are fun and then they can take them home. I'm going to say, all right, we were vacationing in Mecca. So we all need to find Mecca, which is blue. We were vacationing there, and we went to go see our friend Tina in Medina. So we're going to go just over here to the pink dot and visit our friend Tina in Medina. And then we wanted to go see our dad. So we decided to go to Baghdad and see our dad. So we hop over to the orange dot, Baghdad, and see our dad. And then we decided that we didn't want anyone to know we were there for whatever reason. So we wore a mask and went to Damascus. So we wore a mask in Damascus. And then we decided to take a tour in Tours. So we went all the way across the Mediterranean Sea to Tours and took a tour there. And then we wanted to visit another friend of ours in Riyadh. So we went back and visited them in Syria. We visited our friend Riyadh. So it's just kind of a fun play on words. The kids like that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to do for geography. I'm also going to teach them a little song to help them remember these places to the tune of Little Bunny Foo-Foo. So it goes like this. Muslim Empire, Mecca, Medina, Baghdad, Damascus, Syria, and Tours. Muslim Empire, Mecca, Medina, Baghdad, Damascus, Syria, and Tours. So that is geography this week. For math this week, we are beginning to talk about liquid measurements. So this week we are focusing on teaspoons, tablespoons, and fluid ounces. And then next week we'll do some more. So what I'm going to do this week is I made these little cards. They're little, but they get bigger. So these are teaspoons, and I'll link them so you can print them out for free if you want to use them. I am going to cut a bunch out and just kind of scatter them around the room. So you could do this before you start class, or you could just do it right then on the table, especially if you have younger kids, be enough for them to just kind of pick it up off the table. So you could totally just scatter around the table. And you want to print enough out that all the kids can have enough to make either a fluid ounce, if you're going to make that the end goal, or a cup. You can decide what you think makes sense. I printed out a bunch of teaspoons. I'm going to have them scattered around the table. And I'm going to tell the kids that we are going to play a little game where they have to gather up as many teaspoons as they can, and they want to trade them in for tablespoons, because 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. So once they find 3 teaspoon cards like this, they can give those to me, or I'll have some other parents help out too. And the parents will exchange that for we find a tablespoon card. Then once they exchange enough teaspoons to get 2 tablespoon cards, they can exchange those 2 tablespoon cards for a fluid ounce card. And once they get a fluid ounce card, yay, they did it. So you might want to just stop at fluid ounce for especially the younger kids. If you want to go farther and print more, then you could have them even try to get enough to get 8 fluid ounce cards equals 1 cup. I have that included on the printable that I'll link. You definitely have to print more, and I think it's very simple and gets the point across if you just go to fluid ounce, especially for the younger kids. And that is technically what we're doing this week. Next week, we'll add in cups and go to gallon. So getting cups in this week is a fun way to just connect it a little bit to next week, but you can use your judgment. I'm also going to teach them this song before we start, because I'm going to sing it while they do this to the tune of Alice the Camel, and it goes like this. 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons equal 1 fluid ounce. You could stop there. We're going to keep singing the same song and go into next week, so you could just sing this whole song too, depending on what you want. It keeps going with 8 fluid ounces equal 1 cup, 2 cups equal 1 pint, 2 pints equal 1 quart, 4 quarts equal 1 gallon. For history this week, we are doing silly words again, because this works really well, I think, for these history sentences, and the kids really enjoy it, and it's a way for them to hear the history sentence a lot. So we are learning about the Muslim Empire this week. So what I will do first is say, okay, I'm going to sing or say the history sentence normally to you, and I want you to listen really carefully, because after I do it normally, I'm going to change it up and put some silly words in there, and you have to try to pick them out. So the history sentence normally goes like this. In 622, Islam was founded in the Arabian Peninsula by Muhammad, who worshipped Allah. Mecca is the holy city of Islam. During the 1400s, the Ottoman Turks expanded the Muslim Empire. I'm going to sing that for them normally, or you could just play it from the Classical Conversation CD too. And then I'm going to tell them, okay, now I'm going to sing it with some silly words added in, and you got to tell me if you hear one and tell me what it's supposed to be. So I'm going to say, all right, here I go. In 622, igloo was found. And they'll be like, igloo? No, what should it be? Oh, Islam. Okay, sorry. So then I start at the beginning and do it normally until the next silly word. So in 622, Islam was founded in the American Peninsula. And they'll be, American? No. What should it be? Oh, Arabian. That's right. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. And so I go back to the beginning and I do it right until the next silly word. So they're actually hearing it right a lot of times doing this way. It's one of the reasons I really like it. The silly words I did were igloo instead of Islam, American instead of Arabian, monkey instead of Muhammad, mud hole instead of Mecca, cookie instead of city, Oscar instead of Ottoman, and tiger instead of empire. So that is history this week. For Latin this week, we are going to play a game called Sparkle. So what this means is I'm going to bring the kids out into the hall again and have them sit in a circle. And first we're going to sing the Latin song together, or I will sing it for them because they don't know it yet. And I'll sing it normally, and then we're going to play this game. The normal way to sing it, it's the fifth declension noun endings, and it goes like this. Ace, A-A-M-A. Ace, A-A-M-A. Ace, A-A-M-A. Singular fifth declension. Ace, arum, abis, ace, abis. Ace, arum, abis, ace, abis. Ace, arum, ebis, ace, ebis. Plural fifth declension. I will sing that for them and I'll say, okay, we're going to play a game where we're going to go around in a circle and each person is going to say one of the endings. And then when we get to the end, whoever is the next person, after the end, so they don't have anything else to say because we're done, they say sparkle instead, and then they get up and they're out of the circle. And so then we do it again and see who the next person is who gets out. And it's fun. You can tell them, now, do you think you'll get out before me, or do you think the tutor will get out before you, and kind of make it fun. So you can obviously help them. If you're kind of running low on time, what I've done is you could just do the singular and, a few times, and then do the plural separately a few times instead of doing it all, singular and plural every single time, just if you're running short on time. So for example, we'll go around and somebody will say ace, and the next person will say A, next person A, next person M, next person A. And if I'm just doing singular, then, oh, we're done. What does the next person say? Sparkle, you're out. And then we'll do it again. And so maybe do it singular a few times and then do the plural a few times. Or if you feel like you have time, you could do it all. So it sounds pretty simple, but it's just fun, different game. They like it. They like seeing like, am I going to be the next person out? So that's what we're going to do for Latin. For science this week, we are learning about some different plant systems. So I'm going to first teach my kids this song to the tune, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, because it's getting close to Christmas time. And it goes like this. What are some plant systems? Some plant systems are photosynthesis, respiration, and transpiration. What are some plant systems? Some plant systems are photosynthesis, respiration, and transpiration. All right, so then I'm going to give them each a silly voice stick or card. I've shown before both. These silly voice sticks just are popsicle sticks, and I wrote different silly voices on them, like mouth closed, or hold your nose, or fish pucker face. They're fun. Or you could do silly voice cards, which I've shown before. They're free on my blog. You can download them, like opera voice, things like that. And then I also have these movement cards I've shown before. You could do instead, like leap, hop, anything like that. These are just super fun. Upside down, especially as the day is getting towards the end and the kids are getting kind of tired. This works really well. I will give each kid either a movement or a silly voice stick or a silly voice card, whatever you want to do. And we will go around and sing the song in their different silly voices or with their different movements. So for example, if they got hold their nose, everybody gets to sing, what are the plant systems? You get the idea. So it's fun. They never get tired of it. Silly voices is like one of my favorite things to do with them, especially the little ones. So that is science. For review this week, we are going to play trashkitball. So what that means is before class, I'm going to prep these. Takes like 2 seconds, but I'm just going to cut some normal printer paper in half and write the different subjects on them. You could get more specific and write like English week 2 or math week 4. I kind of just like writing the subjects and then making up the questions on the fly. Depending on the level of your kids, you can do what you want. But so I'm going to have a bunch of pieces of paper like this with the different subjects on them. And I am going to set up 2 trash cans. So I'm going to have one trash can farther away and one a little bit closer. I'm going to have a piece of painter's tape on the ground as my foul line. So the trash can that's closer will be a 2-pointer, and the trash can that's farther away will be a 3-pointer. So I'm going to divide the kids into 2 teams, and I'm going to tell them, okay, so you're going to take a piece of paper. So I'm going to have a pile of these papers. They're going to take one off the top, read the subject, and then I'm going to ask their team a review question, something we've done English related so far this year. So again, I have younger kids, so I'll probably say something like, tell me what one of the prepositions we learned about was this year and tell me the hand motion for it. Or I might say, hey, do you remember what this hand motion meant about, So depending on the level of kids, you can make an appropriate question. It's good to have your foundations guide handy so you can flip to it and get ideas, or you could write down the questions beforehand. I just like thinking of them on the fly, but you can do what you like. So if that team gets the question right, they get to wad their paper into a ball, and one of them, so I'm going to let everybody get a try. I'm going to probably keep track. I'm going to have everybody's names written down and just check their name when they get a chance to shoot the ball, just so I make sure everybody gets included. One of their teammates will get to choose which trash can they want to shoot for and try to shoot. Now, if they make it, obviously they get 2 or 3 points depending what basket they made it in. If they don't make it, but they got that question right, they still get 1 point for their team. So then that'll happen. Then the next team gets to choose a piece of paper and do the same thing. Now, if that first team had gotten the answer wrong, then you can give the other team a chance to answer and play like that. So you can adjust it too. You can just let anybody answer. There's lots of ways you can play it, but they love crunching the paper up into a ball, obviously, and love trying to shoot it. I have a lot of boys in my class this year, so they love stuff like this. So that is what we're going to do for review. As promised, I want to tell you guys about the activities I made that you can do at home with your kids to practice the memory work this week. So first, for science, I made this board game where they get to travel through the plant systems, and to play, they have to answer some questions. So I made these cards. For example, what is the process called when plants let out tiny drops of water through little openings on the leaves? Transpiration. So then the answer is on the back. So there's different questions. Some are harder, some are easier. They're all appropriate for little kids, like this one. Where are chloroplasts located? You'll have to help them out, but it's a good way to learn some of this stuff. So if they get a question right, it says, if correct, move 1 or 2 or 3 spaces. So they'll start at start and then move the correct number of spaces. And there's some parts to read along the game that help them understand photosynthesis, respiration, and transpiration. So that's science. And then for geography, we're going to play another battleship type game where you need a game marker and they're going to roll a die. And then if they get like 3, for example, they could move 3 from start across or down. And they're trying to get to all the different cities. Obviously, one country, Syria. When they get to the square that holds a city, then they get to take the city card. So we have a card for each city that's color-coded. And the first person to get all the city cards wins. So that's geography. For history this week, the Muslim Empire, I made this picture of Mecca with all the different parts of the history sentence down here divided up. And so you can cut these strips out and have the kids put it together like a puzzle by putting the history sentence in the correct order. So that's history. For Latin, I have these bingo cards I've shown before. These go from week 3 through this week, week 12. So it's a really fun way to just practice all the Latin noun endings. And then for English, I have my preposition cards that I've shown, but I have all the prepositions set from week 2 through this week, week 12. And I have a sentence with them and a picture. So we like to play memory with these, or you could just use them as a resource, put them in the right order, or I go fish with them, lots of options. For math, I have showed before in the tutor part, but I have these little teaspoon cards, tablespoon cards, fluid ounce cards, and cup card. I go to cup for this week just to kind of connect it to next week. And so they're gonna roll a die, and if they get, say, 5, then they get 5 little teaspoon cards. And the goal is once they get enough teaspoons to trade in for a tablespoon, they should. So if I have 5 teaspoons, I could trade 3 of those for a tablespoon. And then maybe next time I can get some more and trade for another tablespoon. So the goal is to keep trading the cards until you're able to get fluid ounces and eventually be able to get a cup. So the first person to get 8 fluid ounces equals a cup wins. So that's our math game. So the way you can get those is in the description of this video. I have a link to my blog post of this tutor video. So all these tutor plans in written form with all the links that I referred to and everything. So you can go to that blog post, and then at the bottom are all the free activities. You just enter your email and it will send it straight to you. Also, these are in my free resource library on my blog too, so you can get them either way. But they're totally free, and I hope you enjoy them with your family. If you are enjoying these videos, please subscribe to my channel. I am posting 2 videos each week relating to tutor ideas, homeschooling, and healthy living. And check out my Instagram too. I like to post what I do with my kids, homeschooling related, throughout the week, and healthy recipes we make and stuff like that. And also check out my blog, devotedtolittles.com, where I have all these resources. I have free games and activities for the first 12 weeks, and I will continue this next semester as well. And I have some other freebies on there too, and lots of great blog posts. So check it out. Have a great day, and thank you so much for watching.